Hello. My name is Liz. I welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I'm just gonna give you a little bit about myself. Um, I am a recent member of the GLP-1 team. Go GLP-1 users, and good luck to all of you out there, all of us, especially those of us who have a great deal of weight to lose. And not to put down anybody who's got to lose 50 or 60 pounds. Nothing against um, any of you guys, because we all are on a journey. So I'm not here to shame anybody for 25 pounds any more than I'm not here to shame somebody who needs to lose 200 pounds. So we are all on this journey together, and how we respect one another is important to me. So welcome. A little bit about myself. Again, my name is Liz. I started my GLP journey actually March 16th to be exact, of 2026. Starting my GLP-1 journey was not really a difficult decision. I think I was more trying to figure out how I would approach it as I began to see more and more positive feedback, and see the number of people who have lost tremendous amount of weight, anywhere from 20 pounds to 150 and 60 pounds. I'm sure people have lost 200 pounds. Of course, on the weight loss journey, you do hear of people who have lost more than that. I see and I know about the stories of weight loss, and I watch, some of the shows like My 600-Pound Life and things like that. And to be honest with you, I actually had a family member who weighed around 600 pounds in her lifetime. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us. Probably if the GLP-1 medication was around when she was here, I think she would still be here. So I say this with gladness and sadness that I am on this journey, and it doesn't include right now any surgeries. I come from a huge family of obese women. We are big women, we're hippie women, no flat backs for us. We call them pancake backs. No harm to those people who don't have a lot of gluteal, but I have a lot of gluteus maximus, posterior, derriere, whatever you want to call it. And so that's something that's been in my family. So we don't consider you fat just because you got a big butt in my family, because big butts run in the family, to say it point blank. I have struggled with obesity not as a child, not as a teen, but more into my 30s, where the weight began to creep up in the 200s. And then probably about 20 years ago or so, I began to creep into the 200 and something. And then in the early 2020 or so, I began to creep into the 300s, the 300 club. And of course, my doctors were talking about weight loss surgery, and had been talking about it off and on for years with me. But unfortunately, I have had a very, 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 very negative experience with family members, direct, immediate family members, who underwent surgeries going all the way back to the 1980s. For those who are not familiar, there used to be like a stomach stapling, where they close the sides of your stomach off so that you could only get a certain amount of food. And those surgeries often would reverse themselves after a while if you ate more than you should over a period of time. If you got pregnant, and it would stretch back out. If you, again, over the years, it would expand back out, and ultimately you'd end up having to do something else if you hadn't changed your lifestyle, which often my family members did not do. So I saw family members shrink down to little bitty things, to 5 years later, gaining the weight back. Some of them got pregnant, causing the surgery to, the closing of the stomach surgery to end up, not close the stomach, the stapling, to actually reverse itself over a period of time. I've had family members who did the gastric bypass, and just a lot of negative outcomes. So I was determined I wasn't going to do it. I don't care what happened. I would not subject my body or my family to the possibility of losing me or irreversible damage that could be done as a result of the surgery. Again, that's just my experience. I call it trauma, and so that is a trauma to me, seeing my family members suffer, and I decided I would never do that. So that pushed me into getting bigger and bigger over the years, and eventually it got to the point where it was physically, has been physically, it's much better, getting better now, but it was physically debilitating. I couldn't walk from one part of the house to the next. I couldn't go from one part of my office to the next. Just movement was starting to be painful. I was starting to develop lymphedema in the bottom of my legs, very, very, very early stages of it, where the skin was getting hard and dry, and it was painful, like pain shooting through those areas. And the familiarity of what I was experiencing was a direct result of morbid obesity. The blood sugars, I had an issue with diabetes early on, but that was something else related. It wasn't found to be due to my weight. Unfortunately, it did cause me some medical issues, but diabetes was resolved when whatever medical condition I had caused this issue to occur. And it resolved. Doctors didn't believe it. It was irreversible. I was going to be a diabetic for life. I was going to be on insulin, and that didn't happen. That changed, and I took myself off of insulin because it was making me sick. Hemoglobin A1C was not a problem anymore. All those things had been resolved. And this was years and years and years ago. This is 25 years ago. So that was something that the doctors hated to see, because they wanted to use that as a reason to convince me to do this weight loss surgery, which I never did. And I'm glad I didn't. But in the 20s, I began to hear around COVID about the GLP-1s. And I began to hear more about how they were, Ozempic at the time, I believe, was the big medication, and the shortage of it. And so we had patients who couldn't get their Ozempic because people had become known in certain communities that Ozempic allowed or assisted in weight loss. It was a process that helped with taking that medication, helped with weight loss. So the people who could afford to pay for it before it was approved by insurance companies, they were getting it. I would say people who could afford it, financially stable people who could afford to pay, $500, $600, $1,000 for Ozempic to lose weight. And so it was being used in the culture of people who could afford it. But what they were doing that I didn't like was they were getting the medication, and patients who needed it for their diabetes couldn't get it. It was a shortage, and it ended up causing many people to have reversals of what the Ozempic that they were taking it for their diabetes control and their hemoglobin A1C control. It was causing them to be unable to get the medication. So the patients were actually having problems. I mean, surgeries were being delayed because hemoglobin A1C is out of control, greater than 10 or 11 or so. Most providers and surgeons were not doing elective surgeries on people like that. So you had people who had medical problems who needed to get surgery but couldn't get it because of their hemoglobin A1C, and their hemoglobin A1C was out of control because they couldn't get their Ozempic. So I thought that's a horrible thing to do to somebody, but I don't think they took it and said, I don't care, many of them. I think people just didn't know how much it was affecting others. All they knew is that it was helping them. Along the line, long story to where we are, I began to see more and more people posting Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the formats, WhatsApp, whatever, talking about their GLP-1 weight loss journey. And I began to see pictures of people who had started this medication in 22 and 23 and how much weight they had lost in 2 years and 3. I was like, wow, this medication has been working miraculous things with people's lives. Like, maybe that is something for me to consider. I began to say, I would do that. Yeah, I mean, if it's working like that, I mean, it wasn't 20 pounds. There are people who are losing 100 pounds. And I was seeing people lose 40 pounds in 6 months. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, okay. I think I'm ready for the weight loss journey. I gained weight, lost weight, did the cabbage diet, did the salt, the what you call that, the vinegar and water diet, the egg diet, the Atkins diet, Weight Watchers. I did all that stuff. I even remember back in the day when you took certain medications that helped with your appetite suppressant and all that. And so I was like, I remember medications that you took that when you took it, it made your stool oily, and so you'd be somewhere and not know that. Little did you know that you thought was gas was actually oil that had seeped out of your area, and it was all on your clothes. So, and I remember that. I remember taking it, and they still sell it, today. And I was just like, I remember that 20 years ago. So I was like, let's see. So I talked to some people and some providers, and they encouraged me to give it a try. So I got a primary care provider that I was comfortable with, discussing that's important, and I had to get it out of my own way. One, my weight was no longer healthy fat. It was dangerous. I was walking around, couldn't breathe, could barely move, had areas in my back of my legs that were starting to swell, developing lymphedema. It was getting bad. It was getting bad for me. And I just didn't realize it. My snoring was getting worse and worse, and I was, stopping breathing at night with this. And so I have lost about 38 pounds since March 16th, and I have a lot more to go. I don't want to be 125. I don't want to be a size 2. I don't want to be a size 6. I don't want to be a size 8. I don't want to be a size 10. I want to be a size 14, 16. That's pretty much me. That's me. I don't, and people can say what they want to, and it may change for me, but I don't want to be thin mints. Anywho, so that is my story. Not to put any shame in anybody else. I am not desiring to be the way that I was in high school. It's okay. Matter of fact, I don't know at what point I would stop and see if maintenance